The deal: I was born in pain. My whole life was nothing but pain. All I wanted was to be loved. I spent my life looking for love. Instead, I was abused by my father, molested by my uncle, and picked on by the neighborhood kids. I met a guy who was nice for once. He even invited me out for dinner. Of course, later that night he got rough with me. I guess I should have seen it coming. He was all over me. I said no, which meant nothing to him. He just hit me and proceeded to choke me. He penetrated me once, then did it again. The next time with a blade. Say my name, it was a real shit way to die, but I found a way back from the dead. Why doesn't everyone come back? I know you want to ask. The trick is, I don't want to live again. I didn't come back because I want a second chance at life. Why the fuck would I want to go through that bullshit again? No one cared about me when I was alive. But I found a way to make them care now that I'm dead. See, nobody can ever mistreat me ever again. Say my name, I can't ever rest in peace because of what the world did to me. And I don't want to. You will all suffer like I did. Say my name. Oh, you don't feel sorry for me anymore? I'm so shocked. That was sarcasm, by the way. You really think anyone who's been through my life and death gives a shit what you think? I'm a legend of nightmares now. I'm the terror of children that brothers, sisters, parents, babysitters tell kids at night to scare them. Nobody treated me right in life. I don't expect or want pity, but you will fear me, and you will remember my name. Mary, Bloody Mary. 3 times. The slumber party, it's been 13 years. 13 exhausting years of looking over my shoulder and feeling like I'm being watched. It all started when I was an innocent, gullible preteen, and my cousin came to visit. She was such a little asshole, but she had her moments. She had just spent the night at some friend's house. Some friend from school who was much cooler than me, cool enough to tell my cousin a story. My cousin couldn't wait to retell it to me. She told me it was a story about a woman who was killed. I didn't want to hear it. She started anyway. It only took 2 sentences, and I was so scared I didn't want her to continue. But I didn't want her to call me a baby again, or get her in trouble. Before she could finish, my dad burst through the door. He let us know my mom had been calling us for the last 5 minutes. I was just so happy that he startled us and stopped her from finishing the story. After dinner, we went to the living room to watch cartoons. I had been hoping she forgot about the story, and for a while I thought she had. We spent the next few days alternating between arguing and having fun. On day 4, we were having fun baking cookies with my mom. When my mom left the room, my cousin turned to me and whispered that she still had to finish the story before she left, and that she would tell me later. She even smiled as she promised not to forget. She turned back to the cookies as I froze in fear. My mom must have noticed when she came back. She asked me if I was okay, and I wish I had told her no. But I wanted to be cool. I wanted to stop being so scared. So I didn't say anything. I told her I was okay and smiled. My cousin was surprisingly cool and didn't mention the story or bring it up again that night. Am I in the clear? We watched videos and cartoons that night. She told me about her crush at school. I made up a crush to impress her. Later, I faked like I was asleep, hoping she would just watch TV until she dozed off. When I opened my eyes a little to peek, I saw she was sleeping. She had left the TV on. If Dad walked in, he would have been so mad at me for leaving it on again. So I eased myself off the couch and turned off the TV. Roar! She scared the shit out of me. She had been half asleep and waiting for me to get up, so we could watch some show we weren't supposed to know existed. And of course finish her story. I knew I couldn't stop her, and I had to prove I wasn't a baby anyway. So after the show was done, she took me to the bathroom and told me the story of a woman who was brutally murdered and cursed the world for her lifetime of pain. Mary, Bloody Mary, she said. Let's say her name. She said it would be fun. She asked me if I was ready. I was so young, so dumb. I looked at her and nodded. She told me it's supposed to work like this. You say her name 3 times, splash the mirror with water, and cut the lights off or cut the lights off. Say her name 3 times, and splash water. It's funny I don't remember the most important detail. I remember hoping that my dad would bust through the door again telling us to go to sleep, or that Mom would come in with her ever-calm voice and tell us to lay down. And I remember that didn't happen. Unfortunately, we were left to our own dumb devices. And of course we said the name 3 times, and turned off the lights, in whatever order had been determined. I do know we each said the name. I tried to chicken out. I wanted to chicken out. But my cousin caught me just mouthing the words, and forced me to say it. The words that would bring Bloody Mary to our bathroom mirror. She squeezed my hand so tight, I could tell she was scared, and then she grabbed me, turned on the lights, and went, boo. I lost it. I started screaming and shaking. We said her name. She knew how to find us. She was coming for us. My cousin freaked out and tried to calm me down, but it was too late. My parents came in and demanded we tell them what was going on. My dad wasn't too happy. He complained we were keeping them up with our screaming and stupid games, and he had to go to work in the morning. My mom did too, but she was more calm, staying to comfort me as my dad left in a huff to get back to sleep. She stayed until I was more relaxed. My cousin did something I never thought she would do. She apologized. She said she didn't mean to scare me that bad, but she still smirked and said she was sorry. But it was so funny. I pretended to laugh too. I let my mom and cousin think I was fine. My cousin went home the next day. She apologized again and said she didn't mean to scare me. She even told me I was cool for going through with the whole thing because she was actually scared. I pretended I didn't see my mom mouthing the words for her to repeat. I told her it was no biggie and I knew she was really scared because she held my hand way too tight. She looked confused. She went off of my mom's script, saying she hadn't held my hand. She had been bracing herself so she could scare me. My mom muttered something about $5 being off the table, but my cousin stuck by her story that she was nowhere near my hand. My mom told me it must have been my imagination, but I was sure it wasn't. I looked at her and pointed out the scratch on the back of my hand. My cousin launched into a defense of her character. Clearly, she had already gotten in trouble for terrifying her younger cousin, and couldn't handle being blamed for hurting me too. She pleaded with me to remember. She told me and my mom that I had done it when the lights went off, before she turned it on to scare me or after. She said she didn't remember exactly. My mom wasn't convinced. I told her that was impossible. I have no nails from my habit of biting them off once they grew long enough to show the barest hint of white. My cousin and I looked at each other. Both our faces got pale. My mom rolled her eyes. All we could think about is whether we had really summoned Bloody Mary or just our imaginations playing tricks. We barely talked to each other until her parents came to pick her up. We said bye. She gave me a big hug. I wanted to tell my mom what really happened. I didn't have the guts to bring it back up. The slow burn the last time I saw my cousin. I was at her older sister's wedding. I was with my parents, and she was with her parents and boyfriend. I was so tempted to bring it up, to ask her if she also jumped every time she saw a reflection out of the corner of her eye in a dark bathroom mirror. But it was so stupid. We were practically grown-ups. Way too old to be so scared of a dumbass child's prank, right? We spoke, but it was short and awkward. You're graduating soon? Cool. Yeah, I'm going to major in mechanical engineering. Oh, you'll need to take at least a year off to work. That's cool, too. I'm pretty sure she spent the rest of the wedding avoiding me. I was so grateful. I spent the rest of the wedding avoiding my mom's probing questions about what had happened with us. We used to be such good friends. I used to be so happy as a kid. What happened? What 16-year-old is still scared of the dark? That was the last time I saw my cousin. A year later, she was in a bad car crash. I held back the hysterical laughter when my mom told me, but only barely. I should have felt terror. Bloody Mary's curse years too late had finally come true, but it wasn't terror. It was a relief. Even before I broke into the police station to read the accident file, I knew the injuries wouldn't add up. After I got my hands on the report, I was able to confirm it. It was like she'd been slashed to pieces. It wasn't like an accident. It was personal. The car had been barely touched. Literally the only damage was a cracked rear-view mirror. I had my first blackout there in the detective's office, and my first arrest, just in time to miss the first week of classes of my senior year with the world's worst excuse in history. I couldn't tell my teachers I had broken down from stress of knowing a long-dead murder victim was hiding in mirrors, waiting for the perfect moment to attack. I couldn't even explain to myself why she hadn't done it already. I didn't turn the lights off for years. I had to have my parents constantly check in on me from ages 17 to 22. It wasn't until after my dad finally left that I started to go to a psychiatrist. Predictably, they told me it was all in my head, even after I explained what had happened to my cousin. They were cool about it. As cool as could be expected. But I still felt self-conscious and dumb after admitting I was terrified of a stupid urban legend. I thought a ghost lived in the mirror and that she would get me in the dark. I felt like she was always watching me. She got my cousin and I was next. They suggested group therapy. I spent 3 years sharing my story, but most listening to the others. It was comforting to have a place where we were all messed up and paranoid. The group didn't resolve the trauma, but it helped me accept it. They all had real problems. Parents who trafficked them for drug money, priests or teachers who took advantage of their trust, bosses who kept their passports under lock and key. And yet they never judged the stupid girl whose cousin once told her a scary story. Eventually, I accepted that if I had been cursed, it must have passed by now. I accepted that maybe I had wasted the last 8 years and it was all in my head after all. I'm 25. If there was anything to come after me, why wait so long, right? I've started taking evening and night shifts at work. I hang out with friends. I'm financially stable enough to have a house with a mirror in the bathroom and a reasonable electric bill. I'm emotionally stable enough to have a puppy and a boyfriend. Before, I spent so much time living in the imagination of a scared little kid. Now, I'm living an actual life. The takedown I just got off of work, and I'm home alone with my puppy. My boyfriend won't be off until midnight. A year ago, I would have locked myself in a well-lit closet with an extra flashlight and hid under a blanket if I was home alone for more than 5 minutes. I duck into the bathroom to check my reflection. I wipe at the smearing mascara under my eyes. It doesn't look too bad. My boyfriend won't care if I look tired. He's going to be more tired than me anyway. We still have to pack for our day trip tomorrow. He and my parents finally agreed to meet each other. They still probably suspect he's a figment of my overactive imagination. But as long as I'm not terrified all the time, they seem to accept it's a positive figment. I splash some water on my frizzing hair and smooth it down. I chuckle once again at the thought of being afraid. A woman was going to jump out of a mirror and get me. Dark. The lights flick on as fast as they had flicked off. Stupid power company. It's 10 o'clock. Should be past peak power surge. I'll complain tomorrow. Thump. What's that? Can't be Michael. Still a couple hours too early? Rex? Where was that lazy puppy anyway? I wander through my house looking for the useless guard dog. It doesn't take long. There's only 2 bedrooms, a tiny living room, and even tinier kitchen. I find Rex on the screened porch, sprawled out and fast asleep. The old dread starts to creep back. I stomp it down. Things make noises. It happens. It happens all the time. My heart stops as I hear a creak. The door? Maybe Michael is off early. And creeping in the house to surprise me? I shake my head. He would never do that to me. He knows what I went through. I look outside and his car isn't in the front yard. I catch another glimpse of my reflection as I cross the little house to check the backyard. A haggard-looking woman looks back at me. I don't look that tired. I decide I should redo my makeup after all before Michael gets home. It will be a nice surprise for him. There's nothing in the backyard. Literally. It's pitch black. My hands start to shake. My joints feel loose. I would faint, but I'm too scared. I got over this. I slam the door and retreat to my kitchen. The microwave says it's 10:05. Can't be. It was 10 when pulled into the driveway. It must have reset when the power flickered. I know this is all in my head, but I can't shake the feelings I'm somehow not alone. I want to run to my room, hide under the blanket with my flashlight. I search the house instead. Besides, I never replaced the batteries. Our one flashlight was useless anyway. I go to the porch. Rex is still sprawled on the old wood planks. He isn't moving. He's not dead. He can't be. He's just a puppy. Something weird is going on. I can't see anything past the screen. It's like the world beyond my house is smothered in swollen darkness. I can't see the streetlights. The TV screens through my neighbor's windows. I can't even see my own porch lights. Somehow, the entire block except me lost power. Nothing is making sense. I don't dare check on Rex. I don't want to know the answer. I instead pace back and forth across the porch. The chills are getting worse. It's all in your head. I try to lie to myself. Michael, where the hell are you? I pull out my phone to text him. The phone says it's 10:05. No, that's impossible. The text won't send. I dial my mom, but get nothing. I try my dad. I try friend after friend after friend until I reach the end of my contacts. The phone dials, but nothing on the other end rings. I try 911. Even that doesn't work. Come on, Cordelia. Get it together. It's in your head, girl. I realize I need to leave. I need to get out of here. I leave Rex on the porch. I pull my keys from my pocket. I hadn't been home long enough to even hang them up. I hold the key between my fingers like every paranoid man in my life taught me to. The air is both dry and damp. I feel like I need to gasp air and like I can't get any more into my lungs. I don't know how I find the car. There's no light, but I find it and get in. The air is somehow worse. The car feels like a coffin. How would I know what a coffin feels like? My car won't start. What's going on? I know the car is fine. I just drove home barely 5 minutes ago, according to the phone. My eyes flick up to see someone else's eyes looking back at me in the rear view mirror. I flick my eyes away to look straight out of the windshield. Wait. Who's that standing there? I don't even know how I can see her when there's no light. Mary, I whisper. There's a lady, but I can't make her out. I don't know if she's standing or floating. She's too far away, and I don't want to get closer. I push myself back further into the driver's seat. I could yell, ask her what's going on. Is it a power outage? She's just staring at me. She probably thinks I'm crazy. Probably because I am crazy. I'm sitting in my car during a power outrage with smeared mascara, frizzy hair, and shaking like a lunatic. I force myself to smile. I wave at her. She doesn't wave back. This isn't right. By the time I climb out of my car, she's gone. I walk back to the porch. I can barely see the light on inside the screen. I pass the kitchen window and see my reflection, and the reflection of the woman standing behind me. I whirl around to see I'm alone. I run to my porch, back to the light. I grab Rex, run inside, and lock the door behind us. Rex is cold. I let the dead puppy slip from my arms as I look out the window. She's there. Mary, I whisper. Is that you? It can't be. I'm in the light. Those are the rules, right? Everyone knows Bloody Mary can't get you in the light. I feel my heart beat all the way in my throat as she steps under the porch light. She's covered with blood. It's dripping from her long tangled hair, down her long nose, from her fingertips and between her legs. Grotesque. I need to get it together. It's all in my head. I back away from the window. This isn't real. This isn't. She's gone. The only thing I can think about is that night when I was a kid with my cousin and that name we said 3 times. Mary, the name escapes my lips in the barest of whispers. I feel the breathing behind my neck. I accept my fate. I can't run from her. I can't hide from her. I never could. Breaking news. Hello, the perky blonde reporter with the painted-on smile announced. I'm Elizabeth Alien Borden, and we have breaking news of the grisly incident on 121 Henry Street. The police have released the name of the deceased. She covered her misstep with a throat clear and a nervous laugh. Cordelia. Ann.R and K.T. Copy, Rex. She flashed a situationally inappropriate smile. At the scene of the she stumbled over the words as the plastered-on smile faltered. At the scene, we have our very own Jack Rippington with Sheriff Carpenter. The view switched to a split screen. Jack Rippington held the microphone up to a nervous smile, until he remembered the subject of the story and quickly, but still too late, adjusted his expression to sympathetic concern. Jack, the perky blonde anchor smiled. She was beyond bothering to care about appropriate emotional responses. She wasn't ever going to get promoted beyond anchoring the small-town local news, and until she was 40, she wasn't going to get fired. Might as well lean into the uppers and let the high ride until quitting time. Can you tell us what's going on over there, and are there any more details on this tragedy? Hello, Elizabeth. Jack checked himself before smiling again, though of course his youthful round face, with thus far flawless dark brown skin, was prone to look joking and cheery, even when he tried to be serious. No, not at this time. Sadly, there are no other leads at this point. For what we know so far, there was no forced entry or any indication of anyone else even being present at the time of. He trailed off as the memory of arriving on the scene before the police, or paramedics, or anyone had had time to parse, let alone clean up the scene. He awkwardly turned to the other man in the frame, a middle-aged sheriff straight out of Central Casting white guy, with a square jaw, steely brown eyes, and a high and tight buzz cut. Unlike Central Casting, this sheriff had pronounced dark circles under his eyes, deep creased frown lines framing his mouth, and a look that he'd seen things that couldn't be unseen. Joining me is Sheriff Stephen Carpenter. The sheriff missed his cue to continue the thread of the story. He was staring at a tree out of frame of the shot. Sheriff, Jack prompted. He came home and found Sheriff Carpenter stared at the tree. Her head was there. His pale skin got paler as he looked close to vomiting. Jack coughed. He awkwardly clearly his throat. I thought that was a detail you wanted to keep confidential in case any suspects. There's no suspects. The sheriff snapped to attention, suddenly realizing he was being recorded. We released the boyfriend. He's the coroner's intern, for God's sake. We know he didn't do it. Jack cleared his throat again as he stalled in vain for Elizabeth to jump in and save him. Elizabeth stared vacantly into the screen. She wasn't listening to him. She'd been mentally going over her drive-up order for Target, figuring if she left the second Jack shut up, and she could wrap up the segment, she ought to be able to make it before the after-school soccer moms flooded the parking lot. I thought maybe there was talk it could be an accident. Jack turned to Sheriff Carpenter once it was clear Elizabeth was leaving the interview in his supposedly capable hands. Her head was in a tree like a fucking Christmas ornament. Carpenter answered in a monotone daze. Hopefully, someone on the time delay had hit the censor button. All Jack could do was wince and hope his pay wasn't going to get docked to cover the fine. There was glass from the goddamn bathroom mirror shoved in her eyeballs. He continued. Jack coughed. Could we maybe watch the language? They were going on vacation, the sheriff went on. Jack was too relieved by the lack of profanity to attempt to pull the sheriff back on subject. And he comes home to her fucking head in a tree, and even the fucking puppy was killed. Jack sighed and looked to the crew. If they weren't catching this on the time delay, he was screwed. 30 years I've been in this department. Carpenter pushed on, not even noticing the reporter's discomfort. And I've never heard of anything this brutal since. He shook his head like he was trying to shake the memory out of consciousness. Personal and just hateful. Jack nodded. He couldn't think of any appropriate human social reaction. His instincts told him to smile to agree, but fortunately his brain knew better, and he ended up fighting to achieve neutrality in his facial expression. But just why? Carpenter continued. I remember her. His deep voice cracked. A stupid fucking teenager fucked up over her cousin's death. He wiped his eyes before tears could come out. Like that wasn't fucking personal either. Could we try not saying the F word? Jack barely got over minimum wage. He wasn't going to be able to make rent if the station decided to dock his pay for each occurrence. The injuries they both had, the sheriff looked at Jack. For some reason, his eyes were pleading, as if Jack could do anything about anyone. It was just such a shit way to die. And back to you, Elizabeth. Jack jumped in to end this segment.